we got to start with the big thing that's going on. Chaos in Minnesota. Something really unfortunate happened yesterday. You've all probably seen the footage. I'll probably play it here in a little bit as well. But during some sort of a protest of some kind in order to stop ICE enforcement, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a woman 37 years old by the name of Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by ICE officer while she was operating her motor vehicle. Now, what was she doing there? Well, we know because we had an eyewitness say that she was leading the protest. She was leading a protest against ICE. Why was ICE there? ICE was there because we have seen this widespread level of fraud from Somali migrants in particular who have come into the country and are stealing money essentially from the taxpayer. They've been setting up daycares where no children go. They've been taking advantage of food programs. They've been taking advantage of healthcare funds that have been made available by the federal, local, state governments, but particularly federal, and trying to get that money and defraud the taxpayer so that they can just basically live in a more prosperous country without having to contribute whatsoever. So ICE is there due to some of the great reporting that we've reported on earlier in the week from Nick Shirley and others who have been monitoring the region. ICE is there cracking down. And then we see that this woman getting involved, protesting after she'd apparently dropped a child off at school and is operating a motor vehicle when she gets shot by ICE. Now, I want to talk about this. And I want to be real with you here because there's, as I've said, one of my commitments to you, there's a lot of provocateurism out there. I want to try to give it to you straight. This is not a great look for ICE. It's not a great look. We don't want to be debating this type of issue. We want to be talking about affordability. We want to be talking about taking out the bad guys overseas. We want to talk about stopping drugs flowing into the country, cracking down on illegal immigration. We want to talk about all the things that have been positive with President Trump's agenda. That's what we really want to focus on, not trying to defend an ICE agent for shooting someone. So we're already off on the wrong foot. That said, if you look at the facts here, I believe in a court of law, the ICE agent is going to win out. I believe this person was clearly obstructing a law enforcement operation. And I think that when you're using a motor vehicle, when you're operating a motor vehicle, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a weapon. It is a weapon. And one of the number one things you can do, and I've done extensive research on this, I will bring this up from time to time on the show, extensive research on this subject matter. If you are in a confrontation with law enforcement, with police, the number one thing you can do to save your own life is to comply with the officers. It's not to panic, it's not to freak out, and it's certainly not to gun it in your car. So was this woman trying to run over the ICE agent? I don't know. The Department of Homeland Security said she was. Looking at the footage on video, to me, it's inconclusive. It was an icy day. The tires were kind of rolling. Maybe she was trying to pull out straight. I don't know. She does turn the wheel eventually, but who knows? She's getting shot at the time when she was turning the wheel. But when officers are banging on the door, trying to get you to stop, the number one thing you should not do is press your foot down on the accelerator. Are we in agreement on this? This is not rocket science. And if anything close to that is happening, an agent shoots you, it's your fault. It is. It's just your fault. So that's sort of thing where I don't want to bring spin to you. That's just a fact. It's just all of that is logical. And I'm saying this in case you're involved in any protest. Maybe you're involved in a good protest, not one where you're protesting against ICE agents who are trying to do their job. Maybe you're protesting something bad that a future left-wing government does. If an officer is banging on your door and you're in a car, just stop, please. Save your own life, particularly if you have children. Now, that brings me to another interesting point and highly relevant here. That this woman, 37-year-old woman, so almost exactly my age, I'm 39 for another couple weeks. She gets 3 children. What is she doing at this protest in the middle of the work week? She doesn't have anything to do with her 3 children. She doesn't have a job to go to. What is going on here? Of course, it gives you suspicion that maybe she was paid. I have no idea. I'm not saying she was a paid protester. But I'm saying that liberal white women showing up to protest on behalf of Somali fraudsters and you get shot and you would explain this to your children and your children are going to grow up the rest of their life with no mother? And then why did your mom die? Well, she was protesting on behalf of Somali fraudsters. And I got shot by ICE when she accelerated her car towards an officer with a weapon drawn. You'd be kidding me. This is completely insane. And this should be what is discussed in the public. If we had a public that was able to entertain any sort of level of nuance, have a actual real discussion here. But instead, what you saw over and over again repeatedly is calls that this is murder. I'll play some clips throughout the show. Jacob Fry, the mayor of the city, going crazy. Jimmy Kimmel going crazy. Mamdani calling it murder. AOC calling it murder. The left never misses an opportunity to fan the flames. They never miss the opportunity to escalate. They never want to calm down. This is one of the myths. They don't want unity. They don't want any sort of peace and tranquility. What they want to do is they want to make it so that they take advantage of a crisis.
But I do have a
crisis go to waste. Never let a crisis go to waste. That's their MO. That's how they operate. And that's what's a shame about this country, because we're living in such a divided time. Think about these objections to ICE. In my social media feed, on my burner account, which all the fun stuff, not my real account with all the political stuff, but all the fun stuff. All these cultural people who are saying F ICE and ICE sucks. What does ICE stand for? Immigration and Customs Enforcement. How could that suck? We're enforcing immigration laws? We're enforcing our customs? We're trying to make it so the citizens of Minnesota and the rest of the world don't have to pay for Somali fraudsters who came here for no other reason other than to take advantage of this country? Here's an unbelievable clip of Congressman Brandon Gill, and he was questioning some liberal who I wasn't familiar with about what's actually going on in Somalia, or in Freudian slip, in Minnesota with the Somalian migrants. This is pretty brilliant. Let's play cut 8, guys.
Large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the...
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir, could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority...
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%.
It's brilliant. Congressman Gill's been on my podcast recently. He'll come back soon, but that was just a great summation. And this is the whole point. If these Somali fraudsters hadn't been allowed by Jacob Fry and by Tampon Timmy Walls and by Amy Klobuchar to operate the way they were, then Renee Nicole Good would be alive today with her 3 kids. But she's dead because she was protesting on behalf of these Somali fraudsters. How wild is that? And who's going to give you that commentary today? No one. No one's going to point that out. I'm just going to run their talking points. But that's the truth of the matter, is that if we had not allowed for this fraud to take place in this country, then you wouldn't have these confrontations. So that's how you get a country that does not have peace, does not have tranquility, does not have unity, is when you allow fraudsters to take advantage of the country, and then you have people who, because of some sort of political ambition, are defending the fraudsters against federal law enforcement, just trying to protect the public.